Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is Brandon Lopez, Parks Manager, presenting 4 service agreements with GreenCoast Landscapes for landscape maintenance services for citywide general fund parks to City Council, May 6, 2025. Recommendation that the City Council approve and authorize the Mayor to execute the following agreements with GreenCoast Landscapes for an initial term of 3 years each from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028, with an option for 2 consecutive 1-year period extensions ending June 30th, 2030 for landscape maintenance services in city general fund parks. The first agreement for a total amount not to exceed $913,000. Second agreement for a total amount not to exceed $822,000. The third agreement for a total amount not to exceed $1,827,000, and a fourth agreement for a total amount not to exceed $1,008,000. Background. Prior to the passing of Measure E for fiscal year 2019-2020, there was a reduction in staffing as a result of budget constraints. This included the elimination of 15 full-time groundsworker 1 and 2 positions from the Public Works Department. After the passing of Measure E in November of 2020, staff created a plan for restoring maintenance of the citywide streets, landscapes, and parks. The intent of using contract services was to have the routine maintenance tasks conducted by a contractor. This allowed the 11 remaining parks maintenance staff members the flexibility to be assigned to reactive and proactive tasks, such as repairs that are outside of routine maintenance, as well as park facility improvements, renovating landscapes, and repairing and modernizing irrigation systems. To provide equal level of service for park maintenance, the city was divided into 4 contract areas consisting of 8 parks in 3 of the contract areas and 9 parks in 1 contract area. On June 29, 2021, the City Council approved 4 agreements to Mariposa Landscapes as the lowest responsive bidder for each contract area. The scope of work for these agreements provides basic routine mowing and debris removal within the general fund parks. The total cost of all 4 agreements was $2,405,000 for the 3-year terms ending June 30th, 2024. In September of 2022, the city bid and entered into a 5th agreement with Mariposa for additional landscape services throughout all 4 park contract areas. That included additional trash and debris removal outside of the landscape areas of the parks, trash can services, weed removal, fertilization, and additional services. The original total for this agreement for additional services was not to exceed the total amount of $758,919 for a term ending June 30th, 2024, and was approved by Council on September 6th, 2022. On May 21st, 2024, the City Council approved the amendments for all 5 park landscape agreements to increase the not-to-exceed value from $3,163,919 to $4,175,880 to cover the park maintenance services through June 30th, 2025. This table shows the final monthly rates for the services in each of the regions, along with the additional services agreement, for a total monthly cost of $93,000 for all 4 regions and additional services. On December 4th, 2024, the city released a request for bid for landscape maintenance services for general fund parks. Outreach efforts include direct notification to 5 potential vendors, publication on publicpurchase.com, and posting on the city's purchasing website. The proposed agreements include turf management, shrub and ground cover pruning, hardscape cleaning, litter and debris removal, weed control, minor tree care, and the capacity for additional services. The additional services contained within each of these agreements are for landscape tasks that are outside of the scheduled maintenance scope of work for general fund parks. The city currently uses multiple agreements with various landscape contractors to perform on-call landscape throughout the city. The 5th park maintenance agreement with Mariposa for on-call landscape maintenance services will also expire in June 2025. Therefore, staff has been consolidating these on-call landscape services into newly awarded landscape agreements. This will increase efficiency and eliminate the time required to solicit for new on-call landscape services. These additional services will only be performed with an approved task order from staff and verification of the approved contract cost and available funds. The current annual cost for Parks Additional Services Agreement is $354,384 per year. The additional services for these new general fund park maintenance agreements are budgeted for each fiscal year. For the first year, the additional services for all four agreements total $322,839, which is $31,535 less than the current agreement. However, there is no guarantee to the contractor that these services will be requested or performed. Payment for these services will only be paid after a task order is issued and the requested service has been verified by staff as completed. On December 11, 2024, the city held a mandatory job walk with the potential bidders. This allowed staff to go over the expectations of the scope of services and provide clarification to the contractors. 7 contractors attended the job walk. The deadline for proposal submissions was January 7th, 2025, and the city received a total of 7 proposals. GreenCoast Landscapes provided the lowest responsible bid in each of the 4 contract areas. The monthly bid amounts from each contractor to provide weekly services within all 4 park areas are as follows, with GreenCoast Landscapes as the lowest at $44,839 per month. On January 16, 2025, staff met with GreenCoast to ensure they were prepared and capable of meeting the requirements as stated in the contract documents. Staff has confirmed that GreenCoast meets all the required city contractual provisions, including possession of a city business tax certificate, insurance certificates, and corporate filing with the California Secretary of State. Additionally, GreenCoast currently has an agreement with the city that provides landscape services for the water, wastewater, and environmental resources divisions, as well as the transportation center. Since July 1st, 2024, GreenCoast has performed these services in accordance with the agreement. Based upon the available information and research performed to date, staff believes that the vendor is capable of satisfactorily meeting the needs of the city. The total cost for all 4 agreements with GreenCoast Landscapes shall not exceed $4,570,000 during the 5-year terms. Funding for fiscal year 25-26 and subsequent fiscal years will be requested through the annual budget process. The not to exceed amount including capacity for additional services, for on-call landscaping services, and increasing service frequencies. These services will only be authorized by staff through task orders. The agreements allow for a price increase through a written request with documentation to support the request not to exceed 3% over the previous year. Therefore, these annual not to exceed amounts are calculated at the maximum of 3% per year if authorized by the city. Are there any questions?